There exists a moment in every person's life when the mask falls, when the courteous smile vanishes, and the true nature of someone is revealed not through words, but through actions that cut, betray, and wound. In that instant, when you stand face to face with betrayal, deceit, or ruthless manipulation, the world as you knew it shifts beneath your feet, and you are confronted with a choice that will define not only the outcome of that conflict, but the very essence of who you are. Most people, when struck by treachery, react with the fury of the wounded animal, lashing out with emotion, driven by the primal need for revenge, for justice, for vindication. Yet they fail to understand that in that very reaction, they have already lost the war before the first battle has even begun. The intelligent, however, do not react. They respond, and in that subtle distinction lies the difference between those who are crushed by the games of power and those who master them. Niccolò Machiavelli, the great Florentine philosopher who peered into the darkest corners of human ambition and political intrigue, understood something that most refuse to acknowledge. The world is not governed by fairness, morality, or justice, but by strategy, cunning, and the calculated use of power. He observed that those who cling to idealistic notions of how people should behave are inevitably destroyed by those who understand how people actually behave. When someone plays dirty against you, when they lie, manipulate, undermine, or attack you with methods that violate every code of decency, you are not facing a moral problem that requires a moral solution. You are facing a strategic problem that demands a strategic response, and only those who recognize this fundamental truth have any hope of emerging victorious. The question that haunts so many in these moments of conflict is not whether they should respond, but how. Should they descend to the level of their opponent, matching treachery with treachery, deception with deception? Should they maintain their principles and risk being devoured by those who have none? Should they seek the moral high ground and hope that virtue alone will protect them? These are the questions that paralyze the mind and weaken the will. And yet they are the wrong questions entirely. The intelligent response to dirty tactics is neither pure retaliation nor passive acceptance. It is something far more sophisticated, far more devastating, and far more effective than either extreme. Machiavelli taught that the greatest leaders are those who understand the necessity of adapting their methods to the nature of their opposition, who recognize that different enemies require different strategies, and who never allow emotion to cloud their judgment or principle to blind them to reality. When facing an opponent who fights without honor, the intelligent do not waste time lamenting the injustice or seeking validation from others. They do not exhaust themselves in righteous indignation or noble speeches about fairness and decency. Instead, they observe, they analyze, they plan, and they execute with a precision that transforms the very weapons used against them into instruments of their opponent's downfall. What you are about to discover is not a simple formula for revenge or a quick guide to manipulation. It is a comprehensive understanding of how power operates in the shadows, how conflicts are truly won and lost, and how the intelligent navigate treachery with such skill that their opponents never even realize they have been defeated until it is far too late to recover. Through the wisdom of Machiavelli, you will learn to see beyond the surface of betrayal and recognize the hidden opportunities within every attack, to transform vulnerability into strength and to respond to dirty tactics, not with equal dirt, but with something far more dangerous: strategic brilliance that leaves no room for counterattack. This is not about becoming what you despise. It is about becoming something your enemies cannot comprehend, cannot predict, and cannot defeat. When treachery first reveals itself, the natural human response is shock, followed swiftly by anger, and then by the overwhelming urge to strike back with equal force. This reaction is so deeply embedded in our psychological makeup that it feels not only natural, but righteous, as though the universe itself demands immediate retribution for the wrong committed. Yet Machiavelli would observe this impulse with a knowing smile, for he understood that this very predictability is what makes most people easy to manipulate and even easier to defeat. The person who reacts emotionally to betrayal has already handed control of the situation to their opponent, allowing the betrayer to dictate not only the terms of engagement, but the very emotional landscape upon which the conflict will unfold. The first principle that the intelligent grasp, which Machiavelli emphasized throughout his observations of political conflict, is that every action taken in anger is a gift to your enemy. When you respond with visible fury, with public accusations, with immediate retaliation, you accomplish several things that work entirely in favor of those who attacked you. You reveal your wounds, showing exactly where you are vulnerable and how deeply you can be hurt. You demonstrate that you can be provoked, that your emotions can be weaponized against you, and that you lack the self-control necessary for sustained strategic thinking. Most critically, you provide your opponent with exactly what they were hoping for, evidence that can be used to portray you as unstable, aggressive, or unreasonable. Consider how this dynamic plays out in countless scenarios across human interaction. A colleague spreads malicious rumors about you at work, undermining your reputation through whispers and insinuations. If you confront them publicly with anger, accusing them loudly, and demanding justice, what happens? To observers who did not witness the original betrayal, you appear volatile and difficult, while your opponent can play the victim, claiming they are being unfairly attacked by someone who is clearly unstable. The original crime becomes invisible, buried beneath the spectacle of your reaction. This is the trap that Machiavelli warned against, the trap of allowing your response to become more visible and more condemnable than the attack that provoked it. The same principle applies in personal relationships, where betrayal often cuts deepest. When a friend reveals your confidences or a partner undermines your trust, the immediate urge is to expose them, to make others see their true nature, to ensure they face consequences for their actions. Yet this impulse, however justified it may feel, rarely produces the desired outcome. Public confrontations become dramatic spectacles in which both parties are diminished. Relationships fracture not only between you and the betrayer, but among entire social circles, and the original issue becomes lost in endless debates about who said what and who acted worse. The intelligent recognize that public battles over private betrayals serve no strategic purpose and often leave everyone involved worse off than before. Machiavelli understood that conventional responses to treachery fail not because they lack passion or conviction, but because they are responses rather than strategies. A response is reactive, dictated by the actions of your opponent, while a strategy is proactive, dictated by your own objectives and executed according to your own timeline. When someone plays dirty against you, they are hoping to provoke a particular response, one that serves their interests, whether by making you look bad, by distracting you from your goals, or by drawing you into a conflict that drains your energy and resources. Every time you give them the reaction they expect, you are dancing to their music, playing a game where they have already decided the rules and stacked the odds in their favor. The failure of conventional responses becomes even more apparent when we consider the long-term consequences. A heated confrontation may provide momentary satisfaction, a sense of having stood up for yourself and defended your honor. Yet what does it accomplish beyond that fleeting emotional release? Does it repair the damage done? Does it prevent future attacks? Does it leave you in a stronger position than before? In most cases, the answer to all these questions is no. Emotional reactions dissipate quickly, leaving behind nothing but scorched earth and hardened enemies, while the intelligent response plants seeds that grow into lasting advantages, relationships that endure, and positions that cannot be assailed. What Machiavelli observed in the courts and conflicts of Renaissance Italy remains eternally true. Those who master their emotions master their fate, while those who are mastered by their emotions become pawns in games played by others. The intelligent do not suppress their anger or pretend betrayal does not sting. They acknowledge the wound, feel the pain, and then deliberately set those emotions aside to make room for calculation. They understand that the best revenge is not the loudest or the quickest, but the most effective. And effectiveness requires patience, planning, and the willingness to wait for the perfect moment to act. In the immediate aftermath of betrayal, when emotions run high and the urge to act feels overwhelming, the intelligent do something that appears counterintuitive to most observers. They become silent, not the silence of defeat or the quiet of confusion, but the deliberate, calculated silence of the strategist who understands that information is power, and that observation reveals far more than confrontation ever could. Machiavelli taught that the wise leader never acts until they fully understand the situation, the motivations of all parties involved, and the likely consequences of every possible response. This requires time, patience, and the discipline to resist the pressure to react immediately. Strategic silence serves multiple purposes, each more valuable than the satisfaction of an immediate response. First, and most obviously, it denies your opponent the reaction they anticipated. When someone attacks you through dirty tactics, they have certain expectations about how you will respond, and their subsequent plans are built upon those expectations. By remaining silent, by refusing to play the role they assign to you in their scenario, you immediately disrupt their strategy and force them into uncertainty. They do not know if you notice the attack, if you are planning a response, if you are gathering evidence, or if you are simply unbothered by their actions. This uncertainty is deeply unsettling and often causes opponents to make mistakes, to overplay their hand, or to reveal more about their intentions than they intended. The second advantage of strategic silence is that it allows you to observe without the distortion that comes from being actively engaged in conflict. When you are arguing, defending, or attacking, your perception narrows, focusing only on the immediate exchange and missing the broader context. By stepping back and remaining silent, you gain the perspective necessary to see patterns that would otherwise remain hidden. You notice who else is involved, who benefits from the conflict, who remains neutral, and who quietly takes sides. You observe how your opponent behaves when they believe they have won or when they are uncertain about your response. You gather information about their methods, their allies, their weaknesses, and their ultimate objectives. Machiavelli emphasized throughout his works that knowledge of your enemy is the foundation of victory, and that such knowledge cannot be gained through direct confrontation, but only through patient observation. He noted that people reveal their true nature not in their words, but in their actions, and not in the actions they perform publicly, but in what they do when they believe no one is watching or when they think they have already secured their advantage. The intelligent therefore use periods of apparent inaction to watch carefully, to note every detail, to build a comprehensive understanding of the battlefield before committing to any particular course of action. Strategic silence also serves a crucial psychological function by preventing you from saying or doing things that could later be used against you. In the heat of anger, people make statements they cannot retract, threats they cannot fulfill, and accusations they cannot prove. These impulsive utterances become ammunition for opponents, twisted and presented in the worst possible light, used to justify further attacks or to portray you as the aggressor. By maintaining silence, by refusing to provide such ammunition, you deny your opponent easy tools to use against you and ensure that when you do eventually speak or act, every word and every move is calculated for maximum effect. There is also a profound power in being underestimated, and silence is often interpreted as weakness by those who lack strategic sophistication. Machiavelli observed that many of the greatest victories in history were won by leaders whose opponents dismissed them as passive, fearful, or incapable of decisive action. While adversaries grew overconfident, assuming that silence meant surrender, the silent strategist was preparing moves that would prove devastating precisely because they were unexpected. The intelligent understand that being underestimated is not an insult, but an advantage, a gift offered by arrogant opponents who confuse patience with impotence. During this period of observation and silence, the intelligent are not idle. They are documenting every instance of treachery, every broken promise, every manipulation. They are strengthening their own position, building alliances with those who see the truth, securing their vulnerabilities and preparing options for response. They are allowing their opponent to continue revealing information, to dig themselves deeper into positions that will eventually become indefensible. They are, in essence, allowing their enemy to construct their own prison while believing they are building a fortress. The duration of strategic silence varies depending on circumstances, but it always ends according to the timetable of the intelligent, not in response to pressure from the opponent or from emotional exhaustion. Machiavelli would counsel that action should come only when three conditions are met: when you fully understand the situation, when you have prepared adequate resources and plans, and when the timing provides maximum advantage. Until those conditions exist, silence is not weakness. It is the most powerful position available, the calm before a storm that your opponent cannot predict and cannot prepare for. One of the most sophisticated concepts in Machiavellian strategy is the principle that every attack contains within it the seeds of counterattack, that every moment of vulnerability can be transformed into an opportunity, and that the intelligent strategist never merely defends, but always seeks to turn the enemy's aggression into their own advantage. This requires a fundamental shift in perspective, from seeing betrayal as purely negative to recognizing it as information-rich and opportunity-laden. When someone plays dirty against you, they have revealed something crucial about themselves: their fears, their strategies, their weaknesses, and their willingness to violate norms. All of this information can be weaponized by those who know how to use it. The first step in this transformation is to analyze the attack itself with clinical detachment, as though you were examining a chess position rather than a personal assault. What exactly did your opponent do? What methods did they use? What allies did they require or call upon? What did they need to be true about you or the situation for their attack to succeed? What vulnerabilities in their own position did they expose by taking this action? Machiavelli taught that every aggressive move requires the aggressor to commit resources, to take positions, and to make assumptions, and that each of these commitments creates potential weaknesses that can be exploited by a careful observer. Consider the common tactic of spreading false rumors or undermining someone's reputation through gossip and innuendo. On the surface, this appears to be a devastating attack that is difficult to counter, as rumors spread quickly and defending against them can make you appear guilty or desperate. Yet the intelligent see deeper. They recognize that the person spreading rumors has revealed themselves as untrustworthy, has involved others who now have information about their methods, and has staked their credibility on the effectiveness of their lies. Each of these factors creates opportunities. The intelligent do not frantically try to convince everyone that the rumors are false. Instead, they allow the rumors to spread while quietly building a case that will, at the right moment, demonstrate not only that the rumors were lies, but that the person spreading them is systematically dishonest. This approach transforms the attacker's strategy into a trap for themselves. The more they invest in their lies, the more people they tell, the more elaborate their story becomes, the deeper they dig themselves into a position from which there is no escape once the truth emerges. Machiavelli observed that liars defeat themselves through overconfidence, by believing their own deceptions and failing to maintain the careful consistency that successful lying requires. The intelligent strategist needs only to give them enough rope and wait for the right moment to reveal the truth, not defensively, not desperately, but calmly, with evidence that is unassailable and timing that is devastating. Another example of transforming attacks into advantages comes from understanding what the attack reveals about your opponent's priorities and fears. If someone attempts to sabotage your work or undermine your projects, they have revealed that they see you as a threat, which means you are succeeding in ways that concern them. If they spread rumors about your personal life, they have revealed that they cannot compete with you on professional merits and must resort to character assassination. If they attempt to turn others against you, they have revealed their own insecurity about their relationships and influence. Each of these revelations provides strategic information that changes how you understand the broader situation. Machiavelli frequently emphasized that the greatest leaders are those who can see opportunity where others see only disaster, who can recognize that every crisis contains within it the potential for transformation. When someone plays dirty against you, they create a crisis, but they also create an opportunity to demonstrate your character, to reveal their lack thereof, to strengthen bonds with true allies who see through the deception, and to eliminate from your circle those who were never truly loyal. The intelligent welcome these clarifying moments, recognizing that it is better to know who your enemies are and have them act openly than to remain surrounded by hidden adversaries who smile while sharpening their knives. The transformation of attacks into advantages also operates on a psychological level. When someone betrays you and you respond not with collapse or fury, but with calm, strategic action, you demonstrate a level of emotional control and strategic sophistication that commands respect and instills fear in those who might have considered joining the attack. You show that you cannot be broken by conventional means, that attacking you is more dangerous than leaving you alone, and that you possess depths of capability that were previously hidden. This demonstration changes how others perceive you and interact with you, often leading to a net increase in your power and influence, even after accounting for the damage the original attack attempted to inflict. Machiavelli understood that in the realm of power and influence, perception often matters more than reality, and that the person who is perceived as dangerous, capable, and unfazed by betrayal will face fewer attacks than the person who is perceived as vulnerable and reactive. By transforming attacks into advantages, by emerging from betrayal stronger rather than weaker, you change the fundamental calculus that others use when deciding whether to oppose you. You become someone whom the intelligent avoid antagonizing and whom only the foolish continue to attack. And in Machiavellian terms, it is always preferable to be feared for your capabilities than loved for your weakness. After the period of observation, after the transformation of understanding that allows you to see advantages where others see only wounds, comes the moment of response. This is not the immediate emotional reaction that most people default to, but rather a calculated, strategic action designed to achieve specific objectives while minimizing costs and maximizing long-term benefits. Machiavelli taught that the difference between successful and unsuccessful leaders lies not in whether they act, but in how they act, when they act, and what they accomplish through their actions. The intelligent response to dirty tactics is therefore an art form, requiring precision, timing, and a clear understanding of desired outcomes. The first principle of the calculated response is proportionality, but not in the sense that most people understand it. Proportionality does not mean matching your opponent's tactics measure for measure or responding to their attack with an equivalent attack of your own. Rather, it means calibrating your response to achieve your objectives without expending more resources or creating more collateral damage than necessary. Machiavelli observed that excessive responses, even when justified, often create new problems and new enemies, turning a discrete conflict into an expanding war that consumes everyone involved. The intelligent therefore ask not, "What is the most devastating response I could deliver?" but rather, "What is the minimum necessary response to achieve my goals?" These goals must be clearly defined before any response is executed. Are you seeking to neutralize a threat, to deter future attacks, to restore your reputation, to expose your opponent's nature to others, or to remove them from their position of influence? Different objectives require different strategies, and attempting to accomplish multiple contradictory goals simultaneously usually results in accomplishing none of them effectively. The intelligent select their primary objective, design their response around achieving it, and remain flexible enough to adjust if circumstances change, but focused enough to avoid being distracted by secondary concerns or emotional satisfactions that do not serve the larger strategy. One of the most effective forms of calculated response is what might be called strategic exposure, wherein you do not attack your opponent directly, but instead create situations where their true nature becomes visible to others. Machiavelli understood that accusations, no matter how true, often fail to convince because people are naturally skeptical and because the accused can always claim they are being unfairly targeted. However, when people observe behavior directly, when they see patterns emerge through their own experience, the conclusions they draw are far more powerful and lasting than anything you could tell them. Strategic exposure works by positioning your opponent in situations where their usual tactics will be observed by others, or where their character flaws will manifest in undeniable ways. If someone habitually lies, you create opportunities for them to lie in front of witnesses who can verify the truth. If someone routinely betrays confidences, you feed them information that is slightly different for each potential source, so that when they spread it, the variations reveal who the source was. If someone takes credit for others' work, you arrange for projects where their lack of actual capability becomes obvious to those whose opinions matter. In each case, you are not making accusations. You are simply allowing reality to speak for itself. Another form of calculated response involves strategic alliance building. When someone plays dirty against you, they often assume you are isolated and vulnerable, that you lack the support necessary to mount an effective defense. The intelligent use the attack as an opportunity to strengthen relationships with others who have been similarly targeted or who recognize the problematic behavior. Machiavelli noted that shared enemies create strong bonds, and that coalitions formed in response to a common threat are often more durable than those built on positive aspirations alone. By reaching out to others, by sharing information, by coordinating responses, you transform a one-on-one conflict into a broader reckoning that your opponent cannot win. The timing of the calculated response is as crucial as its content. Machiavelli emphasized repeatedly that premature action allows enemies to prepare defenses, while delayed action allows them to consolidate gains and move on to other targets. The optimal moment for response is when your opponent is most vulnerable, when they have overextended themselves, when their allies are questioning them, when they believe they have succeeded and have relaxed their guard, or when circumstances have turned against them in ways unrelated to your conflict. The intelligent wait for these moments with the patience of the hunter, knowing that a response delivered at the perfect time has 10 times the impact of the same action taken prematurely. It is also essential that the calculated response maintains moral and legal defensibility, even while being strategically effective. Machiavelli is often misunderstood as advocating for purely amoral action, but careful reading reveals that he always counseled leaders to maintain the appearance of virtue while acting with necessity and to avoid actions that would turn public opinion or legal structures against them. The intelligent therefore ensure that their responses, however devastating they may be to their opponent, cannot be easily portrayed as vindictive, excessive, or improper. They work within systems through proper channels, using methods that withstand scrutiny, so that even as they dismantle their opponent's position, they cannot be credibly accused of impropriety. Finally, the calculated response should, whenever possible, be final. Machiavelli warned against half measures that wound an enemy without eliminating them as a threat, as such actions only create a wounded adversary who becomes even more dangerous and committed to your destruction. When you respond to dirty tactics, you should do so in a manner that either completely neutralizes the threat or establishes such clear boundaries and consequences that future attacks become unthinkable. This does not necessarily mean destroying your opponent utterly. Sometimes the most effective final response is one that offers them a dignified exit if they cease their hostility, while making clear that continued aggression will result in their complete exposure and defeat. Beyond the tactical and strategic considerations of responding to treachery lies a deeper psychological dimension that Machiavelli understood intuitively, even though the formal study of psychology did not exist in his time. The intelligent response to dirty tactics is not merely about achieving external objectives. It is also about maintaining internal integrity, preserving mental clarity, and ensuring that the conflict does not corrupt your character or consume your life. This psychological mastery separates those who win battles but lose themselves in the process from those who emerge from conflict not only victorious, but strengthened, refined, and more fully themselves than before. The first psychological principle that must be mastered is emotional detachment without emotional suppression. This is a subtle but crucial distinction that many people fail to grasp. Emotional suppression involves denying your feelings, pretending you are not hurt or angry when you clearly are, bottling up emotions until they explode destructively or poison you from within. Emotional detachment, by contrast, involves acknowledging your feelings fully, experiencing them consciously, but not allowing them to dictate your decisions or actions. Machiavelli himself experienced betrayal, imprisonment, and torture, yet his writings demonstrate the capacity to analyze human nature with cold clarity, precisely because he had mastered this detachment. When someone betrays you, you will feel anger, hurt, perhaps even hatred. The intelligent do not pretend these feelings do not exist or judge themselves for experiencing them. Instead, they observe these emotions as though from outside themselves, noting their intensity and their duration, understanding what they reveal about what matters to them, but refusing to make decisions while under their influence. They create a space between feeling and action, a pause in which rational analysis can occur. This space is where strategy lives, where intelligence operates, where victory is forged. Those who cannot create this space remain slaves to their emotional reactions, perpetually manipulated by anyone who knows which buttons to push. The second psychological principle involves maintaining perspective on what truly matters. Machiavelli observed that leaders often destroy themselves, not through direct defeat, but through becoming so consumed by conflicts and vendettas that they lose sight of their larger purposes and goals. When someone plays dirty against you, there is a danger of allowing that conflict to become the center of your existence, of spending so much energy on response and counter-response that you neglect the things that actually make your life meaningful and successful. The intelligent constantly ask themselves whether the conflict deserves the attention they are giving it, whether the opponent is truly significant enough to warrant continued focus, and whether their response serves their life or merely feeds their ego. This perspective is maintained through what might be called strategic ruthlessness toward your own thought patterns. The human mind naturally obsesses over injuries and injustices, replaying betrayals endlessly, constructing elaborate fantasies of revenge, and fixating on the unfairness of what occurred. These thought patterns are not only unproductive, they are actively harmful, draining mental energy and emotional reserves while accomplishing nothing. The intelligent recognize these patterns when they arise and deliberately redirect their attention, not through denial, but through conscious choice. They ask themselves, is thinking about this right now moving me toward my goals? If the answer is no, they think about something else. Machiavelli also understood the importance of maintaining your sense of self independent of others' actions or opinions. When someone betrays you or spreads lies about you, there is a natural tendency to become obsessed with correcting misperceptions, with ensuring that everyone knows the truth, with restoring your reputation to exactly what it was before. Yet this obsession gives others power over your inner state, making your peace of mind dependent on external factors you cannot fully control. The intelligent recognize that those who truly know you will not be swayed by lies, that those who believe lies without evidence were never truly allies, and that your character is determined by your actions over time, not by individual incidents or rumors. This self-possession creates a powerful psychological advantage in any conflict. When your opponent's attacks fail to produce the internal turmoil they intended, when you remain centered and purposeful despite their provocations, you deprive them of the satisfaction they sought and often cause them to escalate into increasingly desperate and obvious tactics that ultimately expose them. Machiavelli observed that composure in the face of attack is one of the most intimidating displays of power possible, signaling depths of strength and control that make observers reconsider their assumptions and adversaries reconsider their strategies. Another crucial psychological dimension involves what might be called the wisdom of acceptance. This does not mean accepting that betrayal is acceptable or that you should not respond to it. Rather, it means accepting that betrayal is a permanent feature of human existence, that there will always be people who prioritize their interests over principles, and that encountering such people is not an aberration, but an inevitability. Machiavelli lived in a world of constant political treachery and understood that expecting anything else was naive. The intelligent do not rail against the existence of treacherous people any more than they rail against the existence of storms. Instead, they prepare for them, recognize them when they appear, and navigate them skillfully. This acceptance eliminates much of the psychological damage that betrayal causes. When you expect all people to be honorable and are shocked when some prove otherwise, each instance of betrayal feels like a fundamental violation of how the world should work, creating deep disillusionment and cynicism. When you understand that some people will betray you as surely as water flows downhill, each instance becomes merely data about that particular individual, not a referendum on human nature or a justification for becoming bitter. You can continue to trust selectively, to form deep relationships with those who prove worthy, while maintaining appropriate boundaries with everyone else. Finally, there is the psychological principle of growth through adversity. Machiavelli would recognize that the person who has never faced betrayal, never encountered treachery, never been tested by conflict, remains in many ways a child, living in a protected bubble that can be shattered at any moment. Those who respond intelligently to dirty tactics emerge from the experience with enhanced capabilities, better judgment about character, stronger boundaries, more refined strategic thinking, greater emotional resilience. They become people who are difficult to hurt, difficult to manipulate, difficult to defeat. In this sense, your opponents do you a favor by attacking you, for they provide you with the opportunity to develop capacities that you might never have cultivated otherwise. The truly intelligent response to dirty tactics extends far beyond the immediate conflict to consider long-term strategic positioning and the construction of a life that is inherently resistant to manipulation and betrayal. Machiavelli understood that the greatest security comes not from winning individual battles, but from creating conditions where battles become unnecessary, where your position is strong enough that attacking you appears foolish, and where potential adversaries choose cooperation or avoidance over confrontation. This requires thinking not just about how to respond to the current threat, but about how to prevent or minimize future threats through the deliberate architecture of your relationships, reputation, and resources. The foundation of long-term strategic positioning is the cultivation of genuine competence and value. Machiavelli observed that those who derive their position solely from political maneuvering, from alliances and relationships, remain perpetually vulnerable to shifts in those relationships and to attacks on their credibility. By contrast, those who possess real skills, who deliver genuine value, who create things that people need or want, build a foundation that cannot be easily undermined. When someone spreads rumors about you, but you consistently produce excellent work, the rumors eventually lose credibility. When someone attempts to turn others against you, but you provide irreplaceable value, those others have strong incentives to maintain the relationship despite the interference. This principle applies across all domains of life. In professional contexts, it means developing expertise that is difficult to replicate, building track records of success that speak louder than accusations, and creating value streams that make you valuable to organizations and individuals. In personal relationships, it means being the kind of friend, partner, or family member whose presence genuinely improves others' lives, whose loss would be deeply felt, whose character is demonstrated through consistent action over time. The intelligent invest heavily in competence and value creation, knowing that this investment provides both intrinsic satisfaction and strategic protection against those who would tear them down. The second element of long-term positioning involves what Machiavelli would call the cultivation of reputation and the management of perception. Reputation is not merely what others think of you. It is a strategic asset that can be deliberately constructed and maintained. The intelligent understand that their reputation should accurately reflect their strengths, while also creating specific deterrents against attack. You want to be known for qualities that make targeting you seem unwise, for being someone who keeps detailed records and has excellent memory, so that lies about you are risky. For being someone who responds to provocation, not emotionally but strategically, so that attacking you requires careful calculation. For being someone who maintains strong relationships with influential people, so that turning others against you is difficult. This reputation is built not through boasting or self-promotion, but through consistent behavior over time and through the stories that others tell about you. When you respond to an instance of treachery with intelligence and effectiveness, that response becomes a story that circulates, that serves as a warning to future potential adversaries. When you help others who have been similarly attacked, you build a coalition of allies who share their positive experiences. When you maintain composure and continue succeeding despite provocations, you demonstrate qualities that command respect and caution. Each of these actions contributes to a reputation that serves as armor, reducing the frequency and severity of attacks. Machiavelli also emphasized the importance of strategic relationships and alliances, not in the superficial networking sense, but in terms of building genuine connections with people of character and capability. When someone plays dirty against you, one of the most important factors in the outcome is whether you stand alone or have others who will support you, defend you, and stand witness to the truth. The intelligent therefore invest in relationships long before they need them, maintaining connections not for what those connections can do for them, but because they genuinely value the people involved. This authenticity creates bonds that hold under pressure, that survive attempts by adversaries to fracture them, that provide both practical support and psychological sustenance during difficult times. These strategic relationships should be diverse, spanning different domains and circles, so that you are not entirely dependent on any single group or vulnerable to anyone who might control access to a particular sphere. Machiavelli warned against putting all resources in one basket or becoming too dependent on any single patron or ally, as this creates a point of failure that enemies can exploit. The intelligent maintain professional relationships across industries, personal friendships across social circles, and alliances across different interest groups, creating a web of connections that is resilient precisely because of its diversity and redundancy. Another crucial aspect of long-term positioning involves the creation of documentation and evidence. In an age where information flows quickly and memories prove unreliable, the person who maintains careful records possesses enormous advantages. When conflicts arise, when accusations are made, when history is disputed, the person with documentation, emails, messages, contracts, notes from meetings, records of transactions, has the power to establish truth in a way that verbal claims cannot match. The intelligent therefore develop habits of documentation not out of paranoia, but out of strategic wisdom, knowing that the small effort of keeping records provides massive protection when challenges arise. Machiavelli would also counsel the wisdom of maintaining optionality in all significant relationships and situations. Optionality means ensuring you are never so dependent on any single person, organization, opportunity, or resource that losing it would be catastrophic. When you have options, alternative employment prospects, multiple revenue streams, relationships across different groups, skills that are transferable across contexts, you cannot be easily controlled through threats or manipulated through fear of loss. Those who might otherwise attack you recognize that you can walk away from situations that become untenable, that you are not trapped, and this recognition itself often prevents attacks from occurring in the first place. Finally, long-term strategic positioning requires the wisdom to periodically audit your life and remove unnecessary vulnerabilities. Are there relationships that consistently drain more than they give? Are there commitments that no longer serve your purposes? Are there areas where you have become complacent or where your skills have atrophied? The intelligent regularly assess these questions and make difficult decisions to restructure their lives toward greater strength and resilience. They recognize that every relationship, every commitment, every habit either strengthens their position or weakens it. And they have the courage to eliminate those that weaken, even when doing so is uncomfortable or unpopular. The ultimate expression of intelligence in responding to dirty tactics is to transcend the conflict entirely, to reach a level of strategic sophistication where you not only defeat specific opponents, but move beyond the very need to engage in such battles. Machiavelli, for all his reputation as a chronicler of political ruthlessness, ultimately advocated for a kind of excellence that makes one untouchable, not through constant warfare, but through being so clearly superior, so evidently valuable, so fundamentally secure that opposition becomes futile. This transcendence is not about becoming passive or withdrawn from the world, but about ascending to a position where your success is self-evident, your character unquestionable, and your position unassailable. This level of transcendence begins with a profound shift in how you understand conflict itself. Most people see betrayal and dirty tactics as obstacles to be overcome, problems to be solved, enemies to be defeated. The truly intelligent recognize them as information about who deserves your time and energy and who does not. When someone reveals themselves to be treacherous, they have done you the service of removing themselves from the category of people worthy of your investment. Rather than becoming consumed with defeating them, you simply reallocate your attention and resources to more productive relationships and pursuits. Machiavelli understood that the greatest leaders are not those who win every battle, but those who have the wisdom to know which battles matter and the discipline to ignore those that do not. This is not indifference or avoidance. It is a strategic choice to invest your finite resources where they will yield the greatest returns. When someone plays dirty and you recognize that engaging with them would be a net drain on your time, energy, and focus, the intelligent response may be to simply move on. Not out of fear or weakness, but out of strength and clarity about what truly matters. You continue building your projects, strengthening your genuine relationships, developing your capabilities, and pursuing your goals, while the person who attacked you exhausts themselves on tactics that ultimately change nothing about the trajectory of your life. This approach requires tremendous confidence in your own worth and direction. It means being secure enough in who you are that you do not need everyone to like you or respect you, that you do not need to correct every false impression or win every argument. Machiavelli observed that the most powerful people are often those who appear least concerned with power, who do not constantly seek to dominate every interaction or prove their superiority in every encounter. They know what they are worth, they know what they are capable of achieving, and they need no external validation to confirm these truths. Transcendence also involves developing what might be called strategic compassion for those who attack you. This does not mean excusing their behavior or allowing them to continue hurting you, but rather recognizing that people who resort to dirty tactics are usually operating from positions of profound insecurity, fear, or pain. Machiavelli understood human motivation deeply enough to recognize that aggression often masks weakness, that those who attack most viciously are frequently those who feel most vulnerable. When you can see your opponents clearly in this way, when you understand the desperation or inadequacy that drives their behavior, it becomes easier to respond with calculated effectiveness rather than emotional reaction. This compassionate clarity allows you to respond to attacks without hatred, which is itself a form of transcendence. Hatred binds you to your enemy, keeps you focused on them, gives them power over your emotional state and mental energy. When you can recognize someone as a problem to be managed rather than an enemy to be hated, you free yourself from that binding. You can take whatever actions are necessary to protect yourself and achieve your objectives without carrying the psychological burden of sustained animosity. This is not weakness. It is perhaps the ultimate strength, the ability to act decisively without being controlled by the passions that govern lesser strategists. Machiavelli would recognize in this transcendence a kind of ultimate pragmatism. The question is never, how can I hurt those who hurt me, but rather, what actions will best serve my long-term interests and well-being? Sometimes, the answer involves strategic response and calculated confrontation. Sometimes it involves simply disengaging and redirecting energy elsewhere. Sometimes it involves a combination of approaches. The intelligent remain flexible and pragmatic, guided by effectiveness rather than emotion, by outcome rather than ego. As you develop this transcendent approach, you may find that conflicts decrease in frequency not because people have become more virtuous, but because your reputation, your positioning, and your responses have established you as someone whom it is foolish to attack. This creates a positive feedback loop. Fewer attacks mean more energy available for productive pursuits, which leads to greater success, which further establishes your position, which further deters potential adversaries. You move into a space where your life is increasingly characterized by creation rather than conflict, by building rather than defending, by growth rather than combat. This is the ultimate fulfillment of Machiavellian strategy, not to win every fight, but to create conditions where fights become unnecessary. Not to destroy every opponent, but to make opposition appear pointless. Not to respond to every provocation, but to be so clearly focused on meaningful pursuits that provocations seem petty and irrelevant by comparison. When you reach this level, when someone plays dirty against you and you barely notice because you are so absorbed in creating something valuable or pursuing something meaningful, you have transcended not just the specific conflict, but the entire framework in which such conflicts matter. You have become, in the truest sense, untouchable. Not because no one can touch you, but because you have moved beyond the reach of tactics that can only hurt those who care about them. When Niccolò Machiavelli peered into the mechanisms of power and conflict, documenting the brutal realities of human ambition with unflinching clarity, he was not celebrating treachery, but rather illuminating it so that those who possessed virtue might protect themselves against those who possessed none. His great insight was that ignorance of how power operates does not make you innocent. It makes you vulnerable. A potential victim of those who understand the game you pretend does not exist. The intelligence you have explored throughout this journey is not about becoming like those who play dirty, but about becoming someone who cannot be defeated by their tactics. Someone who transforms every attack into an opportunity, every betrayal into clarity, every conflict into growth. The path of the intelligent response is not the easiest path. It requires discipline when emotion urges immediate retaliation, patience when instinct demands swift action, and self-control when pride insists on public vindication. Yet it is precisely this difficulty that makes it powerful. For in developing these capacities, you become someone fundamentally different from those who react without thinking, who allow others to control their emotional states, who remain perpetually trapped in cycles of conflict and counter-conflict that consume their lives and accomplish nothing. You become a strategist in a world of reactors, a player in an arena full of pawns, someone who shapes outcomes rather than merely experiencing them. As you move forward from this understanding, carrying with you the strategic wisdom that centuries of human conflict have distilled, remember that every encounter with treachery is a test, not of your strength to destroy those who wrong you, but of your wisdom to respond in ways that serve your life rather than feed your ego. The measure of your growth is not how effectively you can hurt those who hurt you, but how completely you can achieve your objectives while maintaining your integrity, preserving your peace, and building a life that transcends the petty warfare that consumes lesser minds. This is the victory that Machiavelli understood, but that most readers of his work miss. The greatest triumph is not over your enemies, but over your own impulses to become like them. The world will continue to contain people who lie, betray, manipulate, and attack. This is not a flaw in the universe, but a feature of human nature, one that existed before you were born and will exist long after you are gone. Your task is not to fix this reality or to rage against it, but to navigate it with such skill that you emerge from each challenge stronger, wiser, and more capable than before. When someone plays dirty, they offer you an opportunity disguised as an attack, an opportunity to demonstrate your character, to refine your judgment, to strengthen your position, and to become someone who cannot be defeated by conventional means. The intelligent do not waste this gift through reactions that serve only the moment. They invest it wisely, extracting lessons and advantages that compound throughout a lifetime. Stand now at this threshold of understanding, equipped not with mere tactics, but with a comprehensive strategic philosophy that will serve you across countless situations and challenges. You know the power of silence, the art of observation, the wisdom of patience, the precision of calculated response, and the transcendence of moving beyond conflict entirely. These are not tricks to be used once and forgotten, but capacities to be developed over years, refined through practice, and integrated so deeply into who you are that they become not something you do, but something you are. This is how you honor the intelligence you possess, not by seeking revenge for every slight, but by building a life so strong, so purposeful, so aligned with your values that the attacks of others become merely footnotes in a story whose outcome was never in doubt. If this exploration of strategic intelligence has shifted something within you, if you now see conflicts and challenges through different eyes, if you recognize that there is a path between naive trust and cynical hostility, then take action to continue this journey of growth. Give this video a thumbs up so that others who need this wisdom can find it. Share it with someone who is facing their own battles and could benefit from a more intelligent approach. And subscribe to this channel where we continue exploring the timeless principles that separate those who are shaped by circumstances from those who shape circumstances. Leave a comment, sharing your own insights or experiences with strategic thinking. Your perspectives add to a collective wisdom that benefits everyone who engages with this community. The choice is yours, as it always has been. To react as most do, or to respond as only the intelligent can. Make that choice with eyes open, with understanding earned, and with the confidence that comes from knowing you possess tools that most people never discover.